Welcome back to my channel. Worth Old Coins Today's is Best Top 3 Coins. One you want to miss. We're diving into the world of Canada. Elizabeth coins, please don't skip this video. So let's get it started. Top 1. The 1978 Canadian 25-cent coin, widely recognized as a quarter, is a circulating coin that stands as a reflection of Canada's national identity, its ties to the British monarchy, and its deep-rooted appreciation of natural heritage. Issued by the Royal Canadian Mint, the quarter has long been one of Canada's most used coin denominations. The 1978 edition in particular is not a commemorative issue, but a continuation of Canada's regular coinage series bearing the enduring portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, and the proud image of the caribou on the reverse. While the 25-cent coin serves a purely monetary function in the economy, its design and symbolism capture a rich narrative about Canada's political system, environment, and heritage. Minted during a time of national reflection and economic shifts, the 1978 quarter may seem ordinary at first glance, but it represents an important chapter in the visual and political story told through Canadian currency. On the obverse front of the coin is the profile portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, who, by 1978, had already served as Canada's monarch for more than a quarter century. The effigy used on this coin was designed by Arnold McCune, a British sculptor, and was introduced on Canadian coinage in 1965, remaining in use until 1989. In this image, Her Majesty is portrayed in a youthful and elegant manner, facing right, wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara family heirloom associated with grace and tradition. Her refined features, gentle expression, and carefully arranged hair reflect the monarch's role as both a symbolic and constitutional figurehead. Surrounding the portrait is the Elizabeth II D.G. Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This phrase honors the Queen's divine right and constitutional legitimacy as the head of state in Canada, a Commonwealth nation with deep historic ties to the British monarchy. In 1978, while Canadian nationalism and multiculturalism were growing, Queen Elizabeth II remained an important symbol of stability, unity, and continuity within the realm. Turning the coin over to the reverse back, one is greeted by the timeless image of the caribou, a species of deer native to Canada's northern regions and symbolic of the country's vast wilderness and natural beauty. The caribou design, crafted by artist Emmanuel Hahn, had been a staple on the 25-cent piece since 1937 and continues to be used in modern Canadian quarters. The animal is shown in side profile, facing left, with its majestic antlers rising prominently across the upper field of the coin. The detail in the engraving captures the elegance and strength of this iconic creature, which has long been respected by Indigenous peoples and Canadians alike for its endurance and spiritual significance. Arching above the caribou is the word Canada, proudly denoting the nation of issue, while the denomination 25 cents sits just below the animal's neckline. Beneath the denomination is the date 1978, indicating the year of mintage. The overall composition is clean and balanced, conveying the sense of calm, wilderness, and national pride that the Canadian quarter has embodied for generations. In technical specifications, 1978 quarter was struck in 100% nickel marking it as part of the modern era of Canadian coinage that transitioned away from silver. The Royal Canadian Mint began using nickel for its 25-cent coins in 1968. In response to rising silver prices and the growing need for a more cost-effective and durable metal for everyday circulation, the coin weighs approximately 5.05 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, and a thickness of 1.58 millimeters. Its reeded milled edge not only gives the coin a tactile distinction from other denominations, but also serves as a legacy security, feature designed to prevent clipping, a practice from the era of precious metal coins. Nickel, being hard and corrosion-resistant, ensures the long-term durability of the coin, even through decades of frequent handling and exposure to environmental conditions. As for its mintage and circulation, the 1978 25-cent coin was produced. In large quantities, over 107 million coins were struck by the Royal Canadian Mint that year. As a result, the 1978 quarter is considered a common issue. And in circulated condition, it typically holds no premium above face value. However, uncirculated examples, or those found in mint sets or proof-like sets, which the Royal Canadian Mint issues annually for collectors, can be more desirable. These coins display a higher quality of strike, with frosted devices and mirrored fields, and are valued among numismatists for their beauty and clarity. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services may also command modest premiums depending on demand and market conditions, especially when free from blemishes or bag marks. Historically, the year 1978 was a time of growing national introspection and modernization in Canada. The multiculturalism policy, first adopted officially in the early 1970s, was being solidified as part of Canadian identity. Canada was also celebrating its progress in developing distinct cultural, political, and economic systems, gradually moving further away from British influence in everyday governance, while still recognizing the Queen as head of state. The continued use of the Queen's portrait on coinage in this period symbolized both Canada's historical continuity and its constitutional structure, while the consistent presence of the caribou emphasized uniquely Canadian values such as wilderness preservation, environmental stewardship, and respect for native wildlife. The cultural symbolism in the 1978 quarter makes it far more than just a means of transaction. The Queen's image, beyond royal symbolism, represents lawful authority, unity, and institutional legacy. The caribou, meanwhile, represents untamed nature, freedom, and the strength of the Canadian landscape. Their pairing on this coin reflects the balance Canada has long sought between governance and natural heritage, between inherited tradition and evolving national identity. The coin's enduring design ensures that every Canadian who held one in 1978 and those who hold one today engages with those same symbols, whether consciously or not, in numismatic terms. The 1978 quarter holds special value for collectors of complete Canadian date sets or for those interested in coins from the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Being part of the Machin portrait era, it belongs to a distinct artistic period in Canadian coin design. Its widespread circulation, durability, and national symbolism have ensured its place as a familiar and respected coin across generations. While not rare, it remains a culturally rich and historically grounded piece of Canadian heritage. In conclusion, the 1978 25-cent Canadian coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is a prime example of a well-crafted, culturally significant, and widely circulated national currency. With its combination of monarchic elegance and wilderness imagery, it tells the story of a country that respects its past, embraces its natural beauty, and steadily shapes its own identity. Whether found in circulation, saved in a collector's album, or resting in a drawer from decades past, the 1978 Canadian quarter is a small but powerful artifact, one that speaks to Canada's heart, history, and enduring spirit. Top to the 1981 Canadian 25-cent coin, popularly referred to as a quarter, is one of the most iconic denominations of Canadian coinage, representing not only a piece of everyday commerce, but also a symbol of enduring national identity. Issued by the Royal Canadian Mint, the 1981 quarter features the unmistakable duality of Canada's political and cultural symbolism on one side, the dignified image of Queen Elizabeth II, head of state and constitutional monarch. On the other, the majestic caribou, a figure synonymous with the Canadian wilderness. This coin is part of the long-running standard circulation series used widely by Canadians in daily life for purchases, vending machines, transportation, and commerce. While it may not hold special numismatic rarity in its circulated form, the 1981 quarter is a historically and culturally significant object, representing Canada in the early 1980s, a nation at a crossroads between tradition and modern evolution, preparing for constitutional reform and growing more confident in its independent identity. The obverse front of the coin features a right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by renowned British sculptor Arnold Machin. This effigy, first introduced in 1965 and used on Canadian coinage until 1989, captures the Queen in her midlife years with a calm and graceful expression. She is wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a royal heirloom that adds elegance to the image without appearing overly ornate. The portrait is encircled by the Elizabeth II Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This phrase reflects both her religious role as the defender of the faith in traditional monarchic terms and her status as Canada's sovereign under its constitutional monarchy. At the time, Queen Elizabeth II was widely respected by Canadians, serving as a symbolic figurehead while Canada moved toward greater autonomy. The continued use of her portrait on coinage underscored the nation's enduring connection to the Commonwealth and its loyalty to the Crown, even as Canadian identity was increasingly asserting itself. On the reverse backside of the coin, we find the powerful image of the caribou, an animal native to Canada's northern and boreal regions, and a long-standing symbol of the country's wild and untamed landscape. The caribou design was created by Emmanuel Hahn and has been featured on Canadian quarters since 1937. It represents not only the richness of Canada's wildlife, but also the importance of nature and environmental balance to Canadian values. The caribou is shown in a left-facing profile with prominent, branching antlers that extend toward the rim of the coin, filling the upper space with natural majesty. Above the caribou is the name of the issuing country, Canada. Below the animal, the denomination 25 cents is clearly displayed, and centered at the very bottom is the year of minting, 1981. The design is symmetrical and minimalist, emphasizing clarity, strength, and symbolism, qualities that have made the reverse of the Canadian quarter one of the most enduring and recognizable in the world. In technical terms, 1981 quarter was minted in 100% nickel, a material used for Canadian 25-cent coins from 1968 through 1999. This composition replaced the silver content that had been used in earlier decades, making the coin more durable, more cost-effective, and better suited to high-volume circulation. The coin has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, a thickness of 1.58 millimeters, and a weight of 5.05 grams. Its reeded milled edge is a feature originally developed to discourage clipping in silver coins, but continued in modern coinage for tactile differentiation and anti-counterfeiting measures. Nickel, while less valuable than silver, offers resistance to corrosion and wear, which is why many 1981 quarters remain in good condition today. Even after more than 40 years in circulation, the Royal Canadian Mint produced a total of over 76 million 25-cent coins in 1981, meaning that this coin is considered common in circulated condition. As such, it usually holds no premium value unless found in uncirculated MS-60 and above, or a proof-like condition. Coins that come from Royal Canadian Mint sets, especially those with high-grade strikes, mirror fields, and frosted reliefs, are more desirable for collectors. A certified MS-65 or higher 1981 quarter, especially if it shows minimal bag marks and sharp detail, can command a modest premium in the numismatic market. There are no major known errors or varieties for this year that significantly affect value, though collectors still examine individual pieces for strike quality and die conditions. In a broader historical context, the year 1981 was one of political transformation and cultural development for Canada. It came just 1 year before the patriation of the Canadian Constitution in 1982, a monumental moment in Canadian sovereignty, which saw the introduction of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and full legal independence from the British Parliament. At the same time, Canada was dealing with economic challenges, including high inflation and unemployment rates, reflecting the global economic difficulties of the early 1980s. Despite these challenges, Canadian national identity was growing stronger, influenced by the rise of multiculturalism, bilingualism, and Indigenous rights movements. In this climate, the continued presence of traditional national symbols like the caribou and the Queen on coinage offered Canadians a sense of stability, history, and unity. The 1981 quarter, while not flashy or commemorative, plays a foundational role in Canadian numismatic and cultural life. Its design remained unchanged for decades, reinforcing the visual identity of Canada through subtle repetition and consistency. The caribou motif evokes respect for nature, while the Queen's portrait anchors Canada within the Commonwealth tradition. The coin is a perfect embodiment of the balance Canada strikes between preserving its past and shaping its future. As a circulating piece of currency, it connects Canadians across regions and generations, passing through countless hands and telling a story not through words but through familiar images and craftsmanship. In conclusion, the 1981 25-cent Canadian coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II is more than just a quarter. It's a miniature canvas of Canadian values, history, and resilience. From its nickel construction and traditional monarchic effigy to its powerful wildlife representation, the coin encapsulates a nation's pride in its environment and political system. Though it may be common in quantity, its meaning is profound. Whether found in change at a coffee shop or preserved in a collector's album, the 1981 Canadian quarter is a piece of everyday heritage, assuming in size but immense in cultural and historical weight. Top 3. The 1980 Canadian 25-cent coin, commonly known as a quarter, is a standard piece of circulating currency that beautifully captures Canada's dual legacy, its enduring ties to the British monarchy, and its profound reverence for nature, symbolized by the caribou. Minted by the Royal Canadian Mint, this coin was part of the regular coinage series and was widely used across Canada in daily transactions. Though it holds no particular commemorative status, the 1980 quarter is a classic example of how everyday coinage can reflect the values, politics, and identity of a nation. Its iconic design, which pairs the image of Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse with the proud and powerful Canadian caribou on the reverse, illustrates the union of Canada's governmental structure and natural heritage. Issued in a year that bridged decades of cultural evolution, the 1980 quarter stood at a historical midpoint between Canada's colonial past and its future as a modern, independent state, while still honoring its royal lineage. The obverse front of the 1980 Canadian quarter features the familiar right-facing portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Mackin, a British sculptor and Royal Academy member. This portrait was first introduced on Canadian coins in 1965 and remained in use through 1989, representing the Queen in her youthful prime. In this engraving, she is adorned with the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, one of her most recognizable crowns, often associated with dignity and simplicity. The Queen's expression is serene, noble, and composed, an image that inspired continuity and grace. Encircling the portrait is the Elizabeth II DG, Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen. This traditional honorific recognizes her status as Canada's sovereign within the constitutional monarchy, emphasizing both divine providence and legal authority. During this period, Queen Elizabeth II was a central figure in Canadian symbolism, even as Canada was asserting more of its own identity through its political evolution and cultural self-definition. The reverse back of the coin features the timeless and majestic caribou, an animal native to Canada's boreal and Arctic regions. The caribou, a symbol of endurance, freedom, and the Canadian North, has been featured on the 25-cent coin since 1937. When the design was introduced by artist Emmanuel Hahn, the animal is portrayed in profile, facing left with a prominent rack of antlers that stretches upward and nearly touches the rim of the coin. The image captures a sense of movement, grace, and strength, embodying the untamed wilderness of Canada. Above the caribou's antlers is the name Canada, boldly displayed, while beneath the animal is the denomination 25 cents. At the bottom of the coin, centered beneath the caribou's neck, is the year of issue, 1980. The overall layout is balanced, elegant, and instantly recognizably an enduring design that gives Canadians a daily reminder of their country's vast natural landscapes and the creatures that inhabit them. From a technical standpoint, the 1980 Canadian quarter was minted in 100% nickel, part of a change in composition that had occurred in 1968, when rising silver prices led Canada to move away from silver-based coinage. The use of nickel made coins more cost-efficient and durable, and the bright silvery appearance of nickel still gave the coins an attractive luster. The 1980 quarter weighs 5.05 grams, has a diameter of 23.88 millimeters, a thickness of 1.58 millimeters, and features a reeded EGIAC common anti-counterfeiting and tactile feature. Nickel coins are known for their corrosion resistance and longevity, making them ideal for mass circulation across Canada's varied climate and geography. Despite the lack of silver, the 1980 quarter maintains a shiny metallic finish that closely resembles earlier, more valuable coins, and continues to stand the test of time in wear and usability. In terms of mintage and rarity, over 82 million of these coins were produced in 1980, which makes the 1980 quarter a common issue in Canadian numismatics. Because of its high mintage, it holds no significant premium in circulated condition, though coins in mint state MS60 and above, especially those graded MS65 or higher, can carry slight premiums among collectors. High-quality specimens often show full luster, sharp strikes, and minimal blemishes or bag marks. The Royal Canadian Mint also released proof-like and uncirculated coin sets in 1980, and coins from these sets are of a much higher visual quality than their general circulation counterparts, often featuring frosted images and mirror-like fields. These are more desirable for collectors assembling full-date sets or focusing on the Macon Portrait series. The historical and political context of 1980 adds additional depth to this otherwise standard-issue coin. Canada was undergoing significant social and political change at the time. That year saw the first Quebec sovereignty referendum, a major political event in which voters in Quebec narrowly chose to remain a part of Canada. This reflected rising tensions and ongoing discussions about national unity, bilingualism, and identity. Meanwhile, Canada's economy was facing inflationary pressures and shifts in global oil prices. Amidst this dynamic backdrop, the stability and familiarity of national symbols such as the Queen on the obverse of coins and the caribou on the reverse offered Canadians a visual and cultural anchor. These coins, exchanged millions of times every day, silently connected people from different provinces, languages, and backgrounds, reinforcing a shared identity. Culturally, the 1980 quarter is a product of Canada's maturing self-image. The Queen's image represents tradition, continuity, and the rule of law, while the caribou reflects the beauty, ruggedness, and resilience of Canada's northern ecosystems. This dual symbolism shows how the country held fast to its constitutional roots while embracing a uniquely Canadian aesthetic. Even though this coin was not created to commemorate a special event, it is part of a larger narrative of Canadian evolution of its people, its governance, and its environment. In numismatic terms, the 1980 quarter is often collected as part of the Machin effigy era. Collectors who focus on complete Canadian date runs, or who seek representative examples of Canada's transition to nickel coinage, often include the 1980 issue in their holdings. Though not rare, it offers a rich combination of history, symbolism, and technical excellence that makes it appealing even to novice collectors. In conclusion, the 1980 25-cent Canadian coin, featuring Queen Elizabeth II and the caribou, is a timeless example of Canadian coin design, one that merges monarchy and wildlife, tradition and independence, aesthetics and function. Its widespread availability and continued presence in circulation make it accessible, while its design and symbolism provide a quiet but powerful reflection of Canada's evolving national identity. Whether tucked into a coin collection or rattling in a change jar, this unassuming quarter is a piece of Canada's living history, an everyday artifact, carrying echoes of heritage, wilderness, and unity. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.